Is it working? Sweet. Sup people, my name is Multiplier and I've got another tutorial for you, and it is all about sidechain compression, because sidechain compression is the most important basic production technique in dance music, and it's so important that I can't remember making a track that didn't have any in it, and I don't think there are many tracks at all that don't have any sidechain compression. So it's the sort of thing that you really need to know how to use, and you'll take it for granted once you know how to do it. And if you're new to production, you probably never even heard of it, although if you're watching this video you probably have. But yeah, it's a super important thing, and yeah, I'm going to show you how to do it in Ableton Live, and hopefully the sounds are a bit better now that I've got my isotope denoising plugin working and all that kind of stuff. So sweet. Let's get to it. So what is sidechain compression? Well, best way to explain it is to give you an example, or tell you that it's kind of like that pumping effect that you hear. But yeah, I'll show you. I've got a super basic kick and a super basic synth. I couldn't create a simpler kick and a synth, and I'll show you it first of all with no compressor, and then I'll turn it on so you hear what the sidechain compression is doing. Sweet, let's go. Pretty sweet, right? It's that kind of pumping effect you get, and that's kind of in time with the tempo and the beat. Yeah, and it's pretty simple, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Yeah, let's just get right to it. Normally I talk a lot of shit, but I'm going to try and keep the talking shit to a minimum. Yeah, right, so delete that and start again. So just a quick overview of what's going on. I have a kick over here, basic. Oh no, click the wrong button. Yeah, I think it's still working. Oh wow, I'm really pro at this. Sweet, okay. Yeah, kicks. We have a 4 to the floor kick pattern, basic kick, and a synth, just a basic synth to illustrate what's going on. Right, yeah. So on the kicks, go over to the audio effects area, find compressor and double click it or drag it in. That's step one. Sidechain compression, you probably want a compressor. That's pretty obvious, right? And then what you need to do is click this arrow. You don't have to click it a million times, but yeah, you need to click this arrow, and that's how the sidechain thing appears. So if you can't see sidechain, don't forget to click the arrow, because it's the sort of thing you can overlook. So click the arrow. Next you want to click sidechain, because that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? We're doing sidechain compression. Let's click the sidechain button, and then audio from, we want to choose kicks, which is probably the obvious choice, and forget about a lot of these knobs and the twiddly bits and the buttons, just leave it as it is. And then what you want to do is to check that it's working, just play the track and then see if this input bar, which is this one here, looks like the kicks. Which it looks like it is the kick, so we've got the sidechain routed correctly. And then what we need to do is, when it's playing, simply pull the threshold down, and then it works. Boom. Easy, right? Sidechain compression done in a very short amount of time. Well, that's the basics of how it works, but I will tell you a few other tips and stuff so you can get your track sounding mad cool, so you become more awesome. So yeah, basically you can do a lot with the sidechain, but personally most of the time I just use 3 different things to adjust how I want the sidechain compression to happen. Because okay, I'll explain what the sidechain compression is doing. Basically, there's an input, which we've set to be the kicks, and there's the output, which is basically what the compressor is on, which is the synth. And it's something like For every decibel the input is above this threshold, it compresses the output according to the ratio down here. So if the input threshold, or if the input is, say, like 1 decibel above the threshold and the ratio is 2, then the output will be compressed 2 decibels down. Something like that. You don't need to know the exact details, but that's basically how it works. We have the input, and then that determines how much the effect is on, the output is compressed according to the ratio. And then you have things like the attack envelope and the release envelope, which are kind of obvious. It's kind of how quickly the effect starts and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of obvious. It's like the release is kind of how long it takes for the... What's the best way to explain it? The best way to explain it is, in fact, not to explain it and to show you what the things do, because, to be honest, when I'm playing with the settings, I mean, I know it doesn't sound like I'm doing a good tutorial by saying it's best not to really think about it, but yeah, the best thing to do is to just play around with the release, the threshold, and the ratio. And they're the 3 that I play with. And if you play with those 3, you'll get a feel for what they do, even if you don't know exactly what they're doing, because let's be honest, you don't really need to know exactly what it's doing. You just need to know loosely what's going on, and you need to know, say, what pulling down the threshold or turning up the release might do. So I'll have a quick play around with it, and you'll have a rough idea of what each one does. Or you can look it up and work out the technical sciencey shit behind it, but fuck it, I'm just going to give you a quick demo. Oh yeah, it's worth me saying that bar there is like how much it's being compressed. So while it's playing, I'll show you. You can kind of see what's going on, because it kind of gets compressed and then that bar goes down. See, watch. So yeah, that's loosely what's going on. Yeah, my advice is just give it a go. Either find a synth you already have, or do a quick demo like this and just play around with it and figure out what each of those 3 does. And then after that, if you want to get more creative, you can kind of play around with this EQ, which kind of compresses it with an EQ. It's kind of obvious what's going on. And then you've got some other buttons like the knee, which is kind of how soft the compression is. If you look here, kind of it makes it soft to hard, but that's kind of a more technical / advanced kind of thing to adjust. So for the time being, if you're watching this video, you probably just want to worry about the threshold, the release, and the ratio. Play about with them, and you'll almost certainly find a combination that gives you the kind of pumping effect you want, which is what you want to do, right? Oh yeah, it's probably also worth saying that your kick sample determines this. So if you can't get the right shape you want because you have a weird kick for whatever reason, what you might want to do, and what a lot of people do, is they say duplicate their kicks, and they call one, say, I call them not send ghosts, send kicks. And then if you do audio to sends only, it's an important point, and play this, what happened is it... Oh wait, what you need to do next is change the sidechain, the synth, to send kicks. What it's going to do is it's going to send kicks from this send kicks into the synth, but it's not going to play the kicks out, so you just hear the synth effect. So I'll show you what I mean. you see that it's doing all the compressing, even though we don't have the kicks playing, because we have a send kicks channel. So that's another important, useful little tip. Like, a lot of people get in the habit of, whenever they start a new project, they'll do a send kicks, or whatever you want to name it, track, and then throughout the entire track, even when the kicks aren't playing, they'll have these send kicks going, just so that they always have something to kind of trigger the sidechain compression throughout the whole track. Because even when the kicks aren't going, a lot of the time you'll want sidechain compression to get a cool dancey effect, because this is dance music. You need that repetition, and the sidechain compression is a good way of doing it. So yeah, that's another useful little tip. And yeah, that's about it, I think. Yeah, just fuck about with it, really. If you have any like real specific questions or whatever, ask me in the comments. But yeah, that's sidechain compression for you, and it's pretty fucking useful. In fact, it's super fucking useful. So yeah, make sure you do it. You'll make your track sound better and more pro. It's like one of the first things you do, that you kind of turn it on and you go, wow, suddenly my tracks sound a lot more awesome when you're first learning. So sweet. My name is Multiplier. Check me out on the Facebook. I'm called Multiplier on Facebook. Makes a lot of sense there. And yeah, check me out on Twitter. That's where I talk the most shit. SoundCloud, lots of free tracks, all that kind of stuff. And YouTube, yeah. Feel free to send me lots of hateful YouTube comments, because that's the whole point of the internet. Sweet. Have fun sidechain compressing. Yeah.